Hey friends, it's Just the Gems. I'm Brandon, and I'm so incredibly happy to be able to talk about a new AI The Somnium Files game. Way back when I first started my channel, like 3 years ago. So I guess not that long ago, but it feels like forever. But anyway, when I started my channel, AI The Somnium Files, the Nirvana initiative had just come out, and it was one of the first things I talked about on here. Who would have thought I'd still be making videos by the time the next game rolled around? Not me. I figured I'd be driven off the internet by an angry mob like ages ago. But anyway, SpikeTuneSoft provided me the code to play this a bit early, so thanks to them for that. Though, and don't tell them this, okay? But I'm buying it myself anyway. That's just how I roll. I can't help it. Now, this isn't a full-on review. I've been traveling for Southeast Game Exchange this year, but this is my spoiler-free impressions of the first 2 chapters of the game. And look, if the previous games in this series are any indication, if you find the downright bizarreness of this series appealing in the beginning, you'll want to be in it for the long haul. At the very least, I can say that I am. Anyway, this is the 3rd entry in the series, but I'd say based on the first couple of chapters, it feels almost a bit like a spin-off. I mean, I guess it's called No Sleep for Kaname from AI The Somnium Files, so even the title suggests that a bit. And when I say it feels like a spin-off, I don't mean that to sound like it's lesser somehow. If anything, it casts a wider net than the mainline series. Here, you're not just in control of Kaname, the guy from the title, right? Who isn't getting a lot of sleep? Yeah, him. You get to actually take control of other characters who you'll have gotten to know very well if you're a series veteran, like Iris and Ota, and guide them through what are essentially escape rooms. I mean, I say essentially, but I guess I mean literally. I'll talk about the escape sequences first, since they're the big new element for the series. The game's opening gameplay has you dropped into the weird bunny foot shoes of Iris, who finds herself in some room full of puzzles. She doesn't seem sure of how she got there, and she's confronted almost immediately by a woman who claims to be a reptilian alien named Akemi. She's the host of the Third Eye game, and she gives Iris the rules and tells her she'll have to use her third eye to find the way out. She also lets her phone a friend, which is very nice, a game show staple. And I mean, naturally, Iris calls Date for help. The escape sequences brought me so much, joy. That sounds funny to say as a 40-something man talking about a video game, but you have to understand something about me. I love escape rooms. I love puzzles and riddles, and just the entire concept of having to solve puzzles to escape from a room has always been super appealing to me. I do an escape room with friends almost every birthday. I play virtual reality escape room games in my spare time. I'm kinda into it. I think a big part of why I'm into escape rooms is the work of Kotaro Uchikoshi. If you're not familiar with the name, let me tell you about him real quick. He's the creator and series director of AI The Somnium Files, but prior to AI, he created the Zero Escape trilogy. Those games are visual novels with straight-up escape room gameplay. Even though escape room style puzzles have been around in games for a long time, I think this was the first game that made the escape room concept the core of its gameplay, and I absolutely loved it. And I loved the story, something that carried over nicely to the AI The Somnium Files series. Now, with No Sleep for Kaname, the series is merging the gameplay from these 2 series into one, and I honestly could not be happier. Seriously, just seeing the words "Seek a Way Out" appear on the screen at the start of the first sequence, just like they did in Zero Escape, gave me goosebumps, like legit. If you've ever done an escape room, you have an idea of what to expect here. Only, obviously, being a video game, they can do much bigger things with set pieces than your average strip mall escape room can do. You'll move through a sequence of puzzles that often lead into each other, using items in multiple ways. The themed rooms I've seen so far have been very cool, and they get increasingly more complex and interesting, so I'm optimistic about what's still waiting for me. One thing I do like is that the game gives you difficulty options. Some of these puzzles can be pretty darn tricky, and the final sequences in the escape room so far have all been timed, meaning the pressure is on. So I like having the fallback option of being able to lower the difficulty if I'm absolutely stuck. Hasn't happened yet, but who knows? An element I wasn't as crazy about, though, is the way the hint system works. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like that you can get hints if you're stuck. Honestly, it's just like real escape rooms in that sense. But in at least one instance, I was so stuck that I really just wanted to be pointed to the general area where I needed to look to advance. Instead, a character just gave me the passcode I needed to move on. It was sort of a bummer. I would have preferred a few more subtler clues, along with an option to straight up ask for the answer if I still couldn't get it. But if you're smarter than me, you probably won't even have that issue. And that's a pretty low bar to clear, so, I'm a dummy. But yeah, I don't want to just sit here and gush about the escape sequences. I mean, I do want to do that, but I won't, because there are other aspects to this game that I need to tell you about. So the escape sequences are a big win for me, and it's honestly just whet my appetite for more games like this in the future. Maybe a resurgence of Zero Escape? Or heck, honestly, if they just wanted to include escape room gameplay in AI The Somnium Files spin-off titles, I think I'd be fine with that too. But keep it coming, guys. That's what I'm saying. I'll briefly touch on the story, but this is the part I want to say the least about, not only because I'm only like 5 hours in, but because the story is the big driver behind these games. You need to experience as much of it as fresh as possible. If you want to watch a streamer stream the game, that's totally fine, but if you're planning to play it yourself, just watch the first couple hours at most. You'll want to uncover these things yourself, believe me. So like I suggested earlier, Iris has been kidnapped and is being held in some weirdo escape game by a possibly lizard person who claims to be an ancient alien. Yeah, if you're familiar with the previous games in the series, you know it likes to flirt with conspiracy theories, and the ancient aliens theory is a pretty big focus this time around. Iris is a giant conspiracy theory nerd, so it tracks that she'd find herself in this sort of situation. As Kaname Date, you're a detective for Abyss, which is a branch of law enforcement that uses something called the Somnium to explore people's dreams in order to solve mysteries. To do that, they use artificial intelligences called AI balls, or eyeballs, which all seem to have sassy personalities and like to engage in cringy behavior. Oh, I should mention the cringe. I have to imagine some people, especially members of Gen Z, from what I understand, might have a hard time with some of the cringe in these games. Personally, I love the cringe. I'm very here for the over-the-top, sincere goofiness that these games offer. But from what I've heard online, Gen Z in particular tends to shy away from things like that, which is honestly a shame. If you're a member of Gen Z with those particular proclivities, let me offer you a suggestion. Play this game alone. Just bask in the wackiness by yourself. You don't have to tell anyone, and I promise I won't tell either. Okay, sorry if that sounded condescending. I honestly don't mean it to be. I just don't want anyone to avoid this game because of stuff like that. You can tell the developers are in on the joke. They absolutely get that they're making certain elements cringy on purpose, and I love it. Oh, right, the story. I was touching on the story. So again, without any spoilers, not only is Iris missing, but there's some mystery around other missing girls, and it's clear this escape game is somehow involved. That's all I'll say. Outside of the escape sequences, you'll still engage in all the gameplay that's standard for the AI The Somnium Files series. You have your investigation sequences, where Date examines environments and talks to people, which is done from a pretty straightforward first-person perspective. And then you have the Somnium sequences, where you get to take control of Iba, her. The Somnium sequences used to frustrate me a bit in the previous games, not gonna lie. By definition, you're entering someone's dream, and so the things that happen in there don't often follow real logic. They follow dream logic. But one thing this entry helped me understand better is how to use the clues the game gives you in order to avoid making the wrong choices. See, in the Somnium, you'll move Iba around the environment and have her interact with different objects. The goal of this is to unlock mental locks that the subject has in place, which lets you delve deeper into their subconscious. The choices you have to make often seemed like they made no sense, but the key is to pay attention to the clues. As you examine objects, you'll see sentences that are missing pieces. Keep examining different objects and those sentences get filled in. Those provide you with clues that help you make the right choice when the time comes. So yeah, you're still engaging with the environment in a very dream logic-y sort of way, but the game does give you guideposts along the way to make it easier to solve. And that's important because you only have 6 in-game minutes to solve each one. The good thing about that is that time only moves at a normal pace when Iba moves, so you can stand still to think about your next action. And speaking of actions, they also cost you time, but you can use bonuses called timies to reduce the amount of time they take. It's a fun system, and especially now that I'm more comfortable using the clues, I enjoy it a lot. Look, I was already on board from the moment I saw the trailer because I have a history with this series and these creators. But if you're considering jumping in here, let me just say, I'm having a blast with this so far. In fact, I'm enjoying the gameplay even more than I did the previous entries. If you'd rather grab the first 2 games to play first, I won't stop you. They're fantastic games too. But this seems like a perfectly good place to jump in if you're in the mood for a wild story and really solid puzzles. I have to just say, we're really lucky to have something as weird as this. Seriously, if video games didn't exist, I wonder if we'd ever get to experience media as unapologetically bizarre as The Somnium Files. Probably not, and that would be a shame. So my advice is just give these games a try and enjoy them. There are basically no other experiences out there quite like them. That'll do it for now. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please be sure to subscribe if you're not, and if you're interested in supporting the channel even further, I have memberships available here on YouTube now, so check that out too. Anyway, until next time, bye.